finally, after 78 days, they were forced to sign this ceasefire, which did still guarantee that NATO would come in for a time, but that they would remain as one sovereign nation. When it was violated, you can imagine the rage, the anger in this area, which is considered really the historic center. Hundreds and hundreds of ancient churches and archaeological sites and a rich culture, a rich, very multinational culture. There's a very important demonstration that the International Action Center, was asked to help on in front of the UN, talking about the lawlessness of this occupation. And just to say even how this came about, sometimes a struggle has really touched a nerve when it's an imam or it's a priest who happens to be calling the International Action Center. So this afternoon we received a call saying, well, this is Father so-and-so, I'm calling from St. Sava Cathedral, and we wanted to know if we could meet with the International Action Center to ask if you could help us take on a demonstration in front of the UN. We should remember the thousands and tens of thousands of people who came out in the streets during the bombing. We don't know where this struggle is going, both on the mass level, but on the international level, because Russia and China and Venezuela and Bolivia and quite a number of countries have refused to recognize this fraudulent declaration of independence, this recognition by the U.S. But let me read you this statement from Russia. This is an AP statement from Russia's NATO ambassador, that the Russian military might get involved if all the European Union nations recognize Kosovo as independent without UN agreement. Russia will proceed from the assumption that to be respected, we have to use brute military force. I don't know the meaning of this statement, but it's a very, very serious statement. And it means that this could quickly become an international crisis. It's such blatant lawlessness. And many, many countries in the world who feel that the U.S. role is to break up and pull apart and rip apart nation states that have been struggled so hard for their sovereignty and development. That's what's going on in Iraq today, and we can see it. And Evo Morales, in making a statement from Bolivia, said right now the U.S. is targeting 3 of the richest provinces of Bolivia and threatening to recognize their, quote, sovereignty, and therefore they feel very threatened by this recognition of Kosovo. So this is, how big wars and all kinds of things unthread and take place. So we need to be following this very, very closely, both what it means in terms of powerful nations deciding, what it means in terms of the mass movement itself coming in and making itself heard and refusing to accept this latest round of lawlessness, what it will mean for us here as really the only force within the U.S. Political movement, within the left, who has over years and over decades taken up this issue, written on it, acted on it in the streets, explained the issue again and again, and then it's sort of, you could say it went to sleep. And for comrades who've come around into the struggle in the last 5 years, 7 years, 3 years, there's been no mention of this struggle. And you might say Yugoslavia, Serbia, Kosovo, Croatia, what's behind all of this? And it's very important to understand that just as the war against Iraq was a war of colonial occupation, massive theft, all-out war against the population, so was a war to break up the Yugoslav Federation. It's resulted in now 9 years of direct U.S. NATO occupation. One other reason why the U.S. may be so determined to grab a hold and assert this kind of colonial rule in Kosovo is the largest U.S. military base built in Europe in decades is Camp Bondsteel in Kosovo. It's on the really vital oil transit routes. It is more than 1,000 acres, 300 buildings, and it's just one of the bases. So Camp Bondsteel, the problem was they could not get from the Serbian government, and the parliament refused to pass it, the right to stay, to have control of Camp Bondsteel. So what have they done? They have set up a completely puppet apparatus that has no power, has no say, can't even write its own treaties or agreement, but where the U.S. can write what they want in order to seize and secure this huge new military base. But that is not the last word. As the people have shown, as this seizure, even if it was only for a few hours, they knew what to do of the U.S. mission, and we hope that it will lead to a new climate of resistance in Serbia today.